Hey, what's going on, guys, and welcome back. Today we have a ton of interesting Monster Sanctuary news that I'm pretty sure most of you haven't heard of because it all comes from an Ask Me Anything that the developers held on Reddit, and in this AMA we got some really interesting information regarding the upcoming project after Monster Sanctuary, what we could expect should Monster Sanctuary 2 come to fruition, and of course we got more information about the Forgotten World DLC, including a release window. I just want to say special thanks to my friend Conan for bringing some of this to my attention, specifically a lot of the juicier pieces of information. So yeah, make sure to sit back, relax, and let's dive right in. Okay, so to start things off, let's talk about this upcoming project that Moi Rai will be developing following the release of the Forgotten World DLC. Now, how do we know that the Forgotten World will be the only DLC before Moi Rai moves on into their new project? Well, let's read this question from Ducky to answer that question. Where does the game go from here? Is there a future with Monster Sanctuary, or is it more likely that we'll see Monster Sanctuary 2? We're currently working on the DLC Forgotten World, and then we will focus our attentions mostly on the new project, which you can find some info on in the other comments. And then it's reiterated by the lead dev saying we plan on working on a different monster taming game next. Now, what exactly will this game be and how will it function? Well, Harry Forged was wondering the same thing. Well, the obvious question for me, what if anything can you tell us about the new monster taming project you're working on? It'll be a roguelite and monster taming mix this time, somewhat inspired by Nuzlocke runs that are popular amongst Pokemon games, with top-down perspective and, again, turn-based combat controlling 3 monsters at a time. So honestly, this is quite different from what I was expecting personally. I'm curious to see if the battle system will still remain similar with the sort of combo and stacking mechanics, or if it'll be completely different. We have a few more interesting questions that I want to get through as well. TKJ5 asks, any chance that it'll be like Dragon Warrior Monsters? Search answers, it'll be more of its own thing. About the game you're making next, do you plan on making an entirely new cast of monsters, or it will be old ones? A Search also answers to this, new monsters, but might have a couple cameos. And finally, Titanic Sage says, does your game feature more evolutions? It's one of the satisfying aspects of the genre that Monster Sanctuary is mostly missing out for me. Search says, our game most likely will not. It doesn't fit the concept, but if we do a Monster Sanctuary 2, it's likely that we put more focus onto evolutions. So in general, some pretty interesting stuff regarding this new project. It won't be like Dragon Warrior Monsters. It'll have some Monster Sanctuary cameos by the looks of it, which will be pretty epic. And while it won't feature much in the way of evolutions, Monster Sanctuary 2, if it becomes a thing, will put more of an emphasis on it. More on Monster Sanctuary 2 in a sec. If we take a look here, the dev also states that they have a bigger team this time around, so I'm wondering what the development time will be like with this title featuring randomly generated maps and a larger team. Okay, back to Monster Sanctuary 2. What do we know about this potential Monster Sanctuary sequel? Well, to be honest, not a whole lot, but the devs did state here that if it is a thing, they'd be interested in some sort of fusion mechanic, and that they'd keep the same Metroidvania monster taming fusion, which definitely makes sense. It'd be honestly kind of weird if they completely changed it. I mean, they could go fully 3D, but even then it just wouldn't feel quite the same. They've also added that they want to make PvP more accessible in the future. Okay, finally, let's talk about the DLC and that juicy release window. So firstly, JCJ101 was asking the following question. I'd like to see an endgame feature similar to Pokemon's battle facilities, tournaments with NPCs and such. Any plans for anything similar? Do you have any idea when the DLC and new game may release? We may or may not add an additional feature where you can do keeper encounter battles in the DLC. DLC is planned to come toward the end of Q2. And bam, just like that, we got a confirmation that the game will be coming sometime at the end of Q2, provided development continues to go smoothly, of course. So that means we're looking at May or June, which is pretty cool. The DLC will also focus on replayability, as the dev states here. We considered something like that in response to a question asking about replayability, but it would indeed be quite extensive. We'd rather work on a new project that will feature randomly generated maps. We do have something in terms of replayability planned for the DLC, but not quite random generated maps. My Son's Dram also asked about dinosaurs, and Search responded, boy, do I have good news for you. We also see here that markers for the map will be coming in the DLC. And finally, that there will be something inspired by Nuzlocke coming to the DLC. So yeah, to recap, DLC is coming within the first half of the year. It'll feature some sort of Nuzlocke-like experience. It'll have map markers and dinos, so that's always good. I mean, the Forgotten World concept makes sense because presumably it will take place in some sort of prehistoric setting. But yeah, just a quick sort of chill video going over what exactly is in store for both the future of Monster Sanctuary and this upcoming title. I'm definitely excited for anything that Moi Rai puts out because if Monster Sanctuary is any indicator of what's to come, then it's obviously going to be good. If you are a fan of Monster Sanctuary or the overarching monster taming genre, definitely subscribe to the channel because I put out new monster taming videos every single day. You can also follow me on Twitter, GymLeaderEd, and check out my Discord, which will be linked below. Special thanks to all of our patrons, especially Dark Persona, Jim Hamilton, and StealCase. And with that, we'll see you guys next time. Peace.